Hi, I'm Drew.
And I'm John. This episode and every future episode is for all the horror hounds and smokers out there who want to expand their knowledge of the genre and have a good time.
Today we have some special guests here with us. Brothers Michael and Jason Leavy from Fuzz on the Lens Productions. They're going to spill their guts to us in an exclusive interview. These guys act, direct, produce, do makeup. They do it all. They had roles in the first Terrfier, but Michael died, or did his thing. But Michael's working behind the scenes on Terrfier 2. Jason is back in front of the screen for Terrfier 2. We're going to talk to them about that. Also, their feature film Abnormal Attraction, and a lot more. All that and more on today's episode of High on Horror. Oh my god. Dude, smell this shit.
Okay, this is amazing. Wait, dude, this smells amazing, but I'm sorry, the name of it is Fuckface.
Indeed it is. Alright, brother, I'm gonna get us sparked up. What do you got going on this week for horror history?
This week in horror history.
So it's funny this week, because last week we talked about my favorite animal, a shark, with the anniversary of Jaws, and now this week we're going to talk about your favorite animal for the 41st anniversary of alligator.
Oh, yeah. It's actually funny because my wife's dad, he is terrified of alligators. And it's funny because he's a tough guy, you know, but I love him. Actually, I do want to talk about alligator for a moment. I just watched it for research for this episode, and I really dug it. Everybody listening knows that, you know, they know what it's like to have a backlog of movies. No matter how many movies you've seen or how much knowledge you have, there's always 5 or 10 or 20 movies that you always mean to get to but never do. And Alligator is one of them for me.
I don't have any experience with it. My best experience is I've ate alligator one time down in Gatorland when I was younger, but I'll have to take your word for it on the movie.
Yeah, I don't think you'd be eating this alligator. All right, well, yeah, directed by Louis Teague, who later directed Cujo and Cat's Eye. Alligator is a fun ride. The effects are good. The cast is solid, led by Robert Forster of Vigilante and Jackie Brown. Sidney Lassick from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest is in it as well. And the movie is literally about a baby alligator getting flushed down the toilet and into the sewer system. From there, the alligator grows way bigger than an alligator growing up in the confines of a sewer system should logically grow. And of course, the police are incompetent, but that's okay because it's fun. The alligator in the film, I love him. He kicks ass. The scene where he busts out of the sewer is fucking rad. My favorite part by far. And he fucking Godzilla tail whips motherfuckers, dude. And he eats a child in a fucking pool.
Okay, he's eating a child. I mean, as Joe Bob said, that's still one of the taboos.
Yeah, it's brutal too. Like this alligator fucks this kid up. But the film winds down with a nice standoff between Robert Forster and the alligator. There's some questionable things about the movie. Not necessarily, the stuff that ages it. I don't care about that stuff. But weird spots in the film, like there's this homoerotic ass grab. It's very strange. There's this Jaws-like music. It's very derivative of John Williams' score from Jaws, and it's the scene where it builds up, and the music's kind of doing that dun 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 dun. And Robert Forster, his character, he's bent over in the sewers, and the camera's like rushing up on him, so you're like made to think that this alligator's like about to attack him, and then it literally just jumps into like his cop partner grabbing his ass. Like that was the big build up. That was the scare. I just thought that was like just really weird and out of place and like just bad delivery. It wasn't a very funny joke.
So it's like the Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2 of like sewer alligator movies.
Well, there's other questionable stuff as well. Like there's a newspaper cover that has a photo with the alligator, and it has a human arm with the hand and all attached in its mouth. I don't really see how that could be a real thing. I don't think that if there was a big alligator in the sewer eating motherfuckers, that there would be a newspaper printed with like that much gore and stuff on the cover because of kids and just in general. But there are some great 80s quotes to take away from it, dude. Like Robert Forster when he says, "I'm going to find that alligator and kick his ass. and then there's the old dude with the crazy eyebrows that goes, he's not hiding in the bushes, which is ironic because I'll be goddamned if the fucking alligator doesn't come out of the bushes eventually.
I mean, for all the problems with logic and problems with the movie, I mean, there's still something about it that we're talking about it 40 years later. Well, 41 years later.
Yeah, the thing is, it's not a bad movie. It's just one of those movies where there's just some things that are out of place. It's a good watch. I'm definitely gonna, watch it a couple more times. It's definitely worth a watch for those of you that haven't seen it, and for those of you who have seen it, we'd love to hear, your thoughts on it. Hit us up on Facebook or Instagram or something, and let us know, if you are you a fan of alligator or no. All right, listeners. Now it's time for Puff Puff Ask, where we answer questions that you listeners ask us via social media on Instagram or Facebook or through email.
Yo, man. Puff, puff, pass.
Lauren from Exton, Maryland asks, what do you guys think of slow burn horror movies like Hereditary, Annihilation, or The Killing of Sacred Deer? Well, for starts, I love slow burn horror films. Everyone shits on slow burn horror films because they have ADD and they need action, action, action. Most great films are slow burners. Halloween is a slow burn. Nothing happens until the last half hour. The key thing for slow burn films is that they have to have a worthy payoff. If you're going to make people stare at a screen with nothing happening for 45 minutes or more, and then have an anticlimactic ending, you're going to get a lot of shit. That's a problem. The key in slow burn films is the payoffs. And in these films that you've given me, especially these three, they're all great examples of slow burn movies with great payoff endings. The House of the Devil by Ty West is another prime example. Rosemary's Baby, Saint Maud, great ones. Bad examples would be, most recently for me, The Witch and a film called Reunion. John, what do you think?
Well, you just hated on The Witch, man. Yeah, I never saw it because you didn't like it, and then I saw Edgar's second film, The Lighthouse, and I really, really enjoyed that. And then I went back and watched The Witch. I like it. I know you're not a fan, but I think it's a solid movie. You're right about Halloween. A lot of people don't think of that as a slow burn, but it is. Hereditary, I've seen a lot of people online hate on Hereditary. I feel like that's either you love that movie or you hate it. I liked it. It definitely is slow, but it still has moments early in the movie. But yeah, I'm a fan of slow burn. But like you said, I mean, you have to have a payoff or you're going to be hated on.
I mean, yeah, exactly. But I will give you one thing. I'm going to tell you what, dude. I'm gonna give The Witch a rewatch. I will give The Witch a rewatch because I have subjected you to watching so much fucked up shit lately. I think that it's understandable. I should give this movie a watch if you really think it's worth it.
Yeah, anytime we can definitely watch it again. And speaking of that, it kind of goes into our second question here. Jesse from Madison, Wisconsin, wanted to know if I considered The Lighthouse a horror movie, and if so, if I liked it. And Lighthouse, I already said I'm a big fan of it, but it's 100% a horror movie. I mean, if you think The Shining is a horror movie, then damn, you have to consider The Lighthouse a horror movie. It has that dread and isolated feel. Two men going crazy. Were they already crazy? Is it really two guys? Are they really at the lighthouse? There's so many possibilities in that movie. If you don't consider it horror, I mean, what genre are you going to put it in? And also, like I said, I like The Witch. Robert Eggers is 2 for 2 with me. The dude is a fucking amazing director. And, like I said, I saw this first, went back and watched The Witch, and I really like it. He has a real knack for being very consistent with the time period he's working in. And with The Lighthouse, I feel like the job was so amazing. It felt almost like you were watching some kind of lost film. And Pattinson and Defoe were both amazing. And I mean, I don't know that there's anybody that loves this movie as much as I do. I know our producer, Josh, has been annoyed several times by me for no reason just quoting this movie.
Well, I will give you one thing. One thing that I will take away from The Witch is that it is beautiful to look at visually. It is a great period piece in regards to the way it looks. I wanted to like that movie. I really did. So I definitely will give it a rewatch, because I did like The Lighthouse. To answer Jesse's question, uh, to answer her question, I do feel that I agree with John. The Lighthouse is a horror film. Simply put, the best way that I can put it is because horror is subjective. What might scare me does not necessarily mean that it's going to scare you. And you can be artsy and slow and still be horror. You can be artsy, and that doesn't necessarily mean that you transcend from being a horror film. In a lot of cases, you're either just bored or you're very entertained. And I like The Lighthouse, not as much as John, but I do like The Lighthouse, and I do consider it a horror film. Just because there's no demons or gallons of blood does not mean that it's exempt from being a genre picture.
I mean, I feel like it's The Shining mixed with Lovecraft, and instead of being set at a hotel, it's being set on this rock with this lighthouse. And the movie has such great quotes. Should pale death with treble dread make the ocean caves our bed? God who hears the surges roll, deign to save our suppliant soul. I have to say I probably can quote this movie better than anybody. And if you haven't seen it, do yourself a favor and at least watch the scene where Wake curses Winslow. Well, at least that was his name before he spilled his beans. And fun fact, Defoe did that whole curse in one goddamn scene.
Damn, no shit. I did not know that. Yo, did you just come up with those quotes off the top of your head, or did you write that?
Dude,
did you really just come up with that?
Dude, I can throw around quotes from The Lighthouse. I don't know what use it has, but I can throw around some quotes.
I gotta be honest with you, I'm impressed. That's fucking impressive. So good on you, dude.
And now it's time to talk about our main topic of today's show, Abnormal Attraction. Abnormal Attraction is a 2018 movie that centers around a world where people and monsters coexist. There's a group of people who want to get freaky with some of these monsters. There's a group of people who want to harm these monsters. There are monsters who want to harm the humans. What unfolds is a hilarious fucking movie filled with a few surprise twists. Will peace win out, or will it end up like the Middle East?
Okay, well, this is a review that I typed up on IMDb after meeting the Fuzz on the Lens crew at New Jersey HorrorCon in 2019 and watching the film in April of 2019. I find that my review is still fitting, and I wouldn't change a word about it. I say that it's like Shrek for adults. I went into watching Abnormal Attraction not really knowing what to expect, but I knew it was a winner just a few minutes in. It's filled with creativity, originality, and it's witty, and it has likable characters. There are quite a few big laughs in the movie, and the makeup effects are really well done. Sure, Abnormal Attraction had a small budget, but it's a prime example of an independent film excelling in entertaining the viewer and also being completely endearing. Kudos to the cast and crew for working ridiculously hard to make this film and for bringing credible actors into the mix. It paid off. If you're looking for something fulfilling and laid back to watch, then put the kids to bed, spark up a blunt, get yourself a beer or a glass of wine, kick your feet up, and watch this movie.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the movie as well. They definitely did well for the budget they had to work with. I enjoyed the monsters. I liked the twist that Frankenstein is Frankstein. Overall, I mean, all the monsters look good. I still thought the best looking monster was the Beast. I don't know which one yours was, Drew.
I would agree that the Beast is definitely the best looking one, but my favorite character by far was Finbar. Finbar was fucking hilarious.
I mean, I gotta think Finbar. Any fans of the movie Finbar, I would imagine, has to be your favorite character. He's definitely the most quotable. He has the best lines in the movie.
Yeah, Jason Leavy really kills the role with it, dude. Like, he's definitely a really funny actor, and he really shows on screen. Actually, what I think is funny about Abnormal Attraction is that it's so funny and just such a little endearing film for me, that I've watched it several times. My wife loves it, and the thing about it is I would actually, in a sense, compare it to Arrested Development. I don't know if you're familiar with that TV show or not.
Yeah. I haven't watched the whole series, but I'm familiar with it.
Okay, well, the thing with that show for me that I noticed is that, like, every time you rewatch it, there's something different to, like, laugh at that you didn't catch the first time around. Like, every time I'll watch it, I'll know the big laugh from the scene, but because I know the big laugh, I'm paying attention to someone else or something else going on in the scene, and, like, it's something else to laugh about. And I find that that's the case with Abnormal Attraction. Every time I rewatch it, I find more funny shit about it.
Well, I mean, you and I had watched it separately. You actually gave it to me recently to watch. And I even noticed something that you hadn't from your watches with the password scene.
Yeah, Blumpkin.
Again, Finbar just killing it. But the thing I also really liked is I feel like they made the universe believable. And I feel like that's hard for the budget that was done. But just the opening scene, the therapy scene, I feel like really established the universe, and kind of like I would kind of compare it maybe to like The Boys, where you're like, this seems like a realistic portrayal if monsters really did live in our society and we had to coexist with them.
Yeah, exactly, because they're not these, like, big, intimidating things. They're ridiculous. It's like really funny to, like, see how they, like, mingle into society, you know?
I mean, yeah, you have a Yeti that has an ice cream truck going around giving out snow cones.
Well, and I keep using the word endearing, but that's the best word for me to use for this film, because there are some raunchy things, you know, like there's Craig Lloydgren at the end, you know, when he's like, you know, eat my big fat purple dick or something like that, you know, it's a hilarious line, you know, like there are some things about the film that are a little risque, you know, the kind of, you know, that do have language and stuff, but overall it like manages to be like a heartfelt, like almost family movie, like it's a feel good movie.
You definitely can't make it a family movie, but I definitely get the point you're making there. And I think that about wraps up what we have to say here about Abnormal Attraction. Now we'll just get Jason and Michael Leavy on and talk to them about it some more. Now it's time for Burn and Learn, the segment of our show where we like to fill you in on some cool trivia facts about our episode. In this case, Abnormal Attraction.
Oh.
Burn and learn.
FYI to you listeners out there, you will not find these trivia facts on IMDb or on the internet. You will only hear these facts here.
And our first one here, most of the entire film was shot in Staten Island, New York, and New Jersey, with the exception of 2 scenes that took place in Ohio and California.
Jason Leavy doubled for almost every monster character at one point or another in the film.
There's a 90-minute featurette on the making of Abnormal Attraction on the Blu-ray.
Abnormal Attraction was originally written as a short film, but then expanded to feature length right before shooting, which is why it has a 3-part parallel timeline anthology feel.
The single Chains of Love featuring Jax from American Idol was created specifically for the film.
Jim Hanks, Tyler Mane, and Gilbert Gottfried never met each other, even though all of their scenes were together. The Penn prison cell was shot in 4 different locations at 4 different times, and then cut to match by using editing and lighting tricks. The only person to work with everyone was Richmond Shepard, who plays the Sandman, and was used to link all of the shots together for a seamless edit on the scene.
And speaking of Jim Hanks, he is the brother of Tom Hanks, and the movie also stars Steve Buscemi's brother, Michael Buscemi.
Fuzz and the Lens Productions are rooted in Staten Island, New York, and they're a one-stop shop. They do it all, and they do it well. They've been voted best filmmakers in Staten Island since 2016. They consist of Stephen Dalla Sala, Michael and Jason Leavy, Kyle Mullins, and Robert Privatera. With us today, Michael and Jason Leavy. Thank you guys for joining us today on High on Horror.
I like that opening. That was great.
Thank you for having us. It's an honor to be here, and we're excited to chat with you guys tonight.
Thank you again for being on, and just getting started off here. I believe it was back around 2016. All over the news, we kept hearing about places being populated with clowns, and people reporting seeing stuff everywhere. Weren't you guys involved with that?
Yes. It was actually, I think it was a little before that. It was around maybe 2014 2014-ish. What happened was we decided to put a clown out on the street as kind of a social experiment and see if we can create a buzz and create a stir. We were tired of, all the negativity that was in the news, and we wanted to kind of change the narrative of what was going on in society and in our community specifically in Staten Island. We really didn't understand the term viral until it happened to us. And we had thought, maybe in a couple of months by putting this clown out there, we can create a little bit of a buzz, a little bit of a stir. But then all of a sudden, it was within 3 days, this thing kind of exploded and really took the world by storm. And, through that clown thing, we were able to do two things. One was use it as a form of entertainment in itself. It was kind of like a movie on its own, real life kind of movie. And the other thing was also promotion for our company, Fuzz and the Lens, and it helped us get our project of Normal Attraction funded and kind of get a little bit of exposure for who we are and that we can make a splash in this entertainment industry.
And did you have any bad interactions doing that out in public? Was there anything bad that happened, or was it all pretty positive?
No, I mean, there were some people that were scared and they were concerned about what the clown was doing, but we would just go out and just, we just wanted to create a buzz and just have, we went out there with like a balloon, but there were like reports that people were going out with knives and stuff. That happened later down the line. But the reason why we came out so early with the clown is because there were a lot of copycats, and we didn't want to get mingled into that. So we were like, all right, let's just come out and say it was us and end it and everything. Because we were supposed to do it the whole summer. We were planning on, doing this clown craze for the whole summer, and we had like spots that we wanted him to go at, like the beach and things like that. But we just decided to cut it short and get it out there while the news was still hot. And it worked out really well in our favor because it helped launch Abnormal Attraction. It got us noticed in the national spotlight, and it was just a fun experience to deal with something like that. Is very crazy because there's so many news outlets that are trying to figure out who it is, and they were staking me and Michael's house trying to figure out, oh, is it really these guys? These guys have to be on it. It has to be Jason. He's bald. The clown is bald. Everything's go. So it was a big spiral, but it helped us, cope with that type of environment, which is cool.
Yeah, and to piggyback off of what Jason said, we were just going out there with a balloon and keeping it very simple and very creepy to kind of let the minds of the people in our community let that fill in the blanks for their own. Whereas Jason mentioned the copycats that were happening across the country after we had started it, started making a little bit more threatening and a little bit more violent with knives. And I think there was fake, what was it? What are those chainsaws and stuff like that? So that's where we decided to kind of come clean that it was us a little bit earlier than we intended, because, again, we didn't want to get looped into that kind of connotation and that kind of reputation with it, because, again, we were just trying to keep it simple, keep it fun, keep it non-threatening. But, yeah, so...
And we wanted to make something in the news that's not, like you hear about bad things in the news. We wanted to make it fun for the community. And I think by doing this, people got a little, they had fun with it. They went out and they looked for the clown and they went, oh, can I get a picture with him? Can I go find him at this train station? He was just there. Let's go and get it. So it created that type of atmosphere on Staten Island that was, it was very good, positive energy. So that was good.
Yeah, that's definitely good to hear. And another one of your projects on YouTube, you made a spoof trailer of the 2018 Halloween called Halloween 60. Some of the subtle changes I really liked, like the receding hairline on Michael was great. Were you guys fans of the 2018 Halloween? And how did you decide to make a spoof trailer on the 2018 Halloween?
Halloween, me and Jason grew up basically on Halloween. It was one of the first horror movies we've ever seen. We fell in love with the franchise. We have a lot of friends attached and associated that are in that franchise now that we've become friendly with over the years. So our spoof trailer, even though it was a spoof and we were kind of making fun of the idea that Michael Myers is still around and he's well into his 60s at this point, it was out of love and, it was out of admiration and for that franchise. The reason why we decided to do it is because even though we love horror, we're also comedians at heart. We really love comedy. So kind of mixing horror and comedy for us is just a no-brainer. So it just kind of made sense for us to do that. And obviously being filmmakers, first and foremost, we wanted to make sure that it looked right and it had a great production value. That mask that we actually used if anybody knows Halloween, the original Michael Myers mask was a William Shatner Captain Kirk mask that they had, altered and changed. Ours was a current replica of William Shatner's face now. And, so it had the wrinkles and the age a little bit. The face was a little heavier. And then we decided to, caricaturize it even more and add that receding hairline and that gray hair. With Halloween Kills coming out soon, waiting for that trailer to drop, you never know. Maybe we'll have another fun little spoof off of that one. We'll see how it goes.
I'd definitely like to see another one made. I really enjoyed that one. Besides the original Halloween, what's your favorite Halloween movie?
Man. I mean, Mike, I know Mike's going to say 2. I know he just watched 3, but he treats that as its own movie. You can't treat it as part of the Halloween franchise. You got to treat it as something on its own.
Well, the Michael Myers, yeah,
right.
same.
The Michael. I think 2 would be. I think 2 is the next best one. I feel because I just think the 2 mask was. I go based off of masks at this point when it comes to sequels, and I think that 2 was one of the better masks as opposed to all the other ones.
I mean, I like, obviously the original 1978 is my favorite. I'd go 1978, Halloween 2, and then it's kind of a toss-up for me for Curse of Michael Myers versus 2018 in there. And then Halloween 4 actually is really good. I always forget that one. But that one I think is a great Halloween sequel. I really, really love it. The only problem I personally have is some of the continuity errors with the mask, same that kind of happened with H2O, and I think that kind of takes away from the film. But that's just me being nitpicky, I guess.
Yeah, I'd have to say 3's my favorite, but you can't consider it in the Michael Myers story. I'd have.
Yeah, 3 is a great movie. I never, when I was younger, because I Michael Myers and everything, I never gave 3 a real chance. Until a few years ago, I actually said, let me watch this knowing now, okay, this is just as a movie. And I absolutely love it. I think Tom Atkins' performance is incredible. I like the adventure kind of story, trying to investigate and figure out what's going on with the masks and the store that's making them, the warehouse. The music is really, really good. The atmosphere in that film is fantastic. So it really is a movie that if people don't initially remember liking it, they should go back and revisit for sure, because it is a good movie.
Yeah, I was the same way as a kid. I thought it was stupid, and then I heard a couple people say, no, just pretend it's its own movie. And they're right. I did the same thing with Drew. He wasn't a fan, and I got him to rewatch it, and he ended up liking it a lot more than he originally did.
Yeah.
And you also had a project here in 2020 called Penance Lane. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so after we had filmed our movie Abnormal Attraction with Tyler Mane, anybody who's familiar with him, he's Michael Myers in Rob Zombie's Halloween, Sabretooth in the X-Men movies. We, became very friendly, and he'd asked us to help him produce one of his projects, Penance Lane, which is a low-budget, independent horror film, and he's not really used to doing those kinds of films. He's more from the studio, bigger budget stuff. So he called upon us and our expertise on how can, he get it done and get it across the finish line and, still make it have high production value. So he brought us in after working on Abnormal Attraction together, and it was a really fun experience. We went down to Georgia for about a month of shooting, and then a month before that for pre-production, and built the entire set, the house, the interior of Penance Lane in Tyler Mane's basement. He has a house down there, and we basically made his entire basement a studio. And it was a lot of fun. It was, kind of just that real, true guerrilla indie filmmaking, get it done, low budget. He brought some of his friends on board, John Schneider, Scout Taylor Compton, Danny Roebuck, who's become a great friend since that shoot, Booker T, and Diamond Dallas Page from his wrestling days. And that was a really, really fun experience. It was kind of shooting a first movie for us that was out of state, really, that we're so used to making a lot of films here in Staten Island or in New York, tri-state area. So that was the first film that we were really on location in and kind of away from our comfort zone. And, we had a great time putting it all together, and we're proud of how it ended up, whenever you do any movie, just to get it across the finish line is always a big deal. And then to do it with really limited resources and a limited budget, when you complete it and it's a complete full story with production value, that's always an honor and just an accomplishment in its own.
Right, and it also taught you too, because we're so, when we're on Staten Island, we were young at the time. When you're on Staten Island, it's so tight knit that everybody, locations. So it actually taught us in the filmmaking process. All right, let's go out, let's talk to these people, let's see where we can film, how we can film it, what time we can film it, and that really built upon our, our production skills too. So it was good in that aspect as well.
And you mentioned Booker T and Diamond Dallas Page. That was actually another question I had here. How did they become involved in it? Were you guys big WCW fans?
Yeah, they got involved pretty early on in the process because Tyler Mane, for those of you who don't know his background, he came from wrestling. That's how he got started before getting into the acting and filmmaking world. So he was friends with them for a long time. And when it came down to make the film, he put the call in because you got to rely on people you can trust, people who can deliver and perform, and people that's going to bring it you can count on. So those were two of his guys that he knew that he was going to bring onto the project. And it was just an honor to be able to work alongside with them. I, in particular, was a general fan of wrestling and WWE, WWF, stuff like that. But I wasn't too crazy like some people on Fuzz the Lens were. I know Kyle Mullins, one of our workers with us, that he was really excited about working with Booker and Diamond Dallas Page and shooting with them. So that was a real excitement and a treat just to see how excited he was.
Right, and they were both they were great guys too. They were very team players. They were always up for the task, and they were easy to work with, which is always nice too.
Did you guys make Booker T do a spin-a-rooney on set?
We didn't have the time to do that, but I wish I did now, looking back on it. We didn't have the time because we were running around from location to location, but I wish I can go back in time and do that.
He did get flipped, though, and we had him on like a rope or something, if I remember correctly, and we had the stunt guys the stunt coordinator was the same stunt coordinator on the original X-Men film, Ben Jensen, who was friends with Tyler and came over from that. And I know that they hooked Booker up on his leg or something, and they pulled him with like the pulley system and the ropes, and he did like a 180 in the air. So that was pretty cool just to see that.
Some wrestling in there, some.
Yeah.
And currently, you're working on your latest project, Stream, featuring Felissa Rose, Jeremy Combs, and David Howard Thornton. Can you tell us a little bit more about that film?
Yeah, so we haven't released too much on Stream. We actually will be releasing a lot more this next coming month and officially announce everything. But it's a movie that we shot in Gettysburg in the teeth of the pandemic. We had been planning to do this film for a couple of years, and we were in the middle of working on Terrfier and then Terrfier 2. So it kept getting pushed, and we were waiting for funds. And then when the pandemic hit, it kind of gave us a little bit of time to take a step back and get that film in order and say, okay, we got to go now or it's going to keep getting, pushed. And as sad as it is what happened with the pandemic, in our situation, it helped to an extent because our entire film takes place in one location pretty much of a hotel. And we had, because of the pandemic, not many people were traveling, so we were able to get that location all to ourselves, which obviously during COVID times, to be quarantined with your cast and crew is ideal and not have too many people coming in and out. They get tested and, we had to follow all those protocols, of course, but it just makes things a little less stressful and a little more easy. So we shot most of the film, majority of it, I'd say about 90% to 95% of it is complete in January and February, which is we thought, the pandemic would be at the tail end, and that's kind of when it had its next huge spike. But we were already committed to go, and thankfully nobody got sick on set. Everybody had a great time. We were able to focus on creating, and we do have a great horror cast. Mostly none of this has been announced just yet, but it will be soon. But as you can see on IMDb's, where you probably got some of your information on it, it stars Jeffrey Combs. I'm trying to just make sure who's on there, that I don't add anybody, but Jeffrey Combs is there, and I know David Howard Thornton, who's Art the Clown from Terrfier. Tim Reed is up there from the original Stephen King's It. and I don't want to say anybody else just in case they're not there.
But there are a couple good ones. There's a lot more that's not on there. There's a lot more that's not on there. But also, what was good about it is that we took our team that made Terrfier so successful. Like, we brought Damien on to do the special effects in this one. We had David. We got the DP to be the gaffer on this one. So we kept that family atmosphere from Terrfier and brought it to stream, which is really going to up the ante of this film, I feel. And the kills are crazy because you know how Damien is with Terrfier, and we tried to make these kills a lot, gorier and stuff like that. And he really came through for us on that.
Yeah, Damien really brought that charm that he has from Terrfier and those kills and really upped the ante with Stream. And, between those two films that we have coming out in Terrfier 2 and Stream, I couldn't be more proud to be a part of both of them. And I think that audiences and fans, especially Terrfier fans of the first film, are really, really going to enjoy those two films, projects that we have coming out.
And I understand there's a Kickstarter campaign to fund some unfunded scenes. How's that been going?
Yeah, so it's going to be an Indiegogo one. It hasn't launched yet. We're currently putting it together now. So next month, we're going to make an official announcement to everyone about this and about this movie and who's in the film. Kind of release all that information along with an Indiegogo campaign. And really what it's for is just, for horror fans like us to, get involved and to make something special and get in on the ground floor. There's so many times when I was younger that I wish that I was able to have gotten in on a movie like Terrfier before it exploded, to be a part of a movie like Halloween or Nightmare on Elm Street or something that is special and something that's really, really cool and could grow into a big franchise. So we're trying to offer that to the horror community and say, hey, listen, let's do this together. Let's kind of change the industry. Let's make a splash and explosion, and show these studio films that are kind of regurgitating the same stuff now over and over again, that horror still can be fresh, and movies, especially independent ones, the ones that are being unique right now. And let's kind of show them that there are no boundaries or any limits in horror films in particular. And we want to showcase that with Stream.
Right, and we wanted to make a movie that's for the fans, by the fans, and we want to get as many as the fans involved, because this horror community, you see it at these conventions, they're so tight-knit, and they're so close, and they could be so supportive, but if you mess up, they could be so negative, but it's good negativity because you learn from that. But
it's all constructive.
Right, it's all constructive. So we really wanted to bring those fans in on this journey with us. So that's why we wanted to start the Indiegogo, is to really get these fans involved in the process of being a part of a film, saying, hey, I was a part of a film. Let's try to get this, let's get this big. Let's get the horror community behind it. And that was the main goal for it.
And that's really good to hear. We definitely need something fresh in horror, and it definitely sounds appealing. Do you have a release date set for the film?
Not yet. We're kind of following, as you know, we have Terrfier 2 that has to be released first. So we're waiting to see what happens with that. Everyone knows Damien's goal is yesterday. We wish we could have had this thing out. But due to the pandemic, things were delayed, and we're hoping to have it out by Halloween of this year. But again, it's kind of up to the distribution, sales agents, and those things. That's the business part of it. But that's the goal, is this fall. And then once that happens, that's where the rest of the chips for Stream will kind of fall into place, because Terrfier 2 should come out first. We worked on that movie first. We can't wait to get it out to the fans. The fans have been waiting, and they've been so supportive. So that's our main focus, is to get that film out first. And then shortly thereafter, we'll follow it up with Stream, and hopefully another franchise everybody can be excited about and get behind, and just enjoy, because that's why we do this, is really to entertain everyone and to make good quality films that just, give you a fun ride.
All right, guys, that sounds amazing. But let's talk about Abnormal Attraction now. After I met you guys at New Jersey Horror Con, you guys, turned me on to the movie and signed, a little flyer for me and everything. And I went home and watched it, and I loved it. And I remember I reached out to you, Michael, through Facebook, and I was like, this guy's so busy, he's not going to respond. But I got to tell him, like, for an indie little comedy film, that was fucking amazing. Like, I thought it was so good. And I reviewed it on IMDb, and I said it was like Shrek for adults. And I just wanted to know, like, I know that you guys produced it along with Stephen De La Sala, and that you all wrote it. How did that come about? What was the story? Like, how did that like organically grow into Abnormal Attraction?
Yeah. I mean, listen, Normal Attraction was a fun passion project that we really wanted to get off the ground. And we had a lot of budget limitations with that, because when you're making a big fantasy monster movie, a lot of costs come with that. But we wanted to keep that charm of like that 80s campiness and 90s kind of campiness to it. So that's kind of the direction we went with. And the idea had come about, we were actually at a film festival in New York called the New York City Horror Film Festival. And Steve De La Sala, our partner, was looking around. It's always around like, everyone always gets dressed up. It's around like Halloween and in the Christmas season. It's in between there. And everyone was dressed up in costumes. Like, girls were these sexy zombies and these guys were these, attractive werewolves and things like that. And he says, there's an interesting idea here that this is almost like a fetish thing. And it's kind of interesting how people are still attractive while they look like monsters and stuff. So we started spitballing and having fun with that concept. Like, oh, imagine if one of them has a real Sasquatch in their basement, and that scene ended up in the movie. The idea kind of sparked from there. And it's like, and they're kind of like alcoholics, but they're not. They're have an abnormal attraction, and there's a meeting, and it kind of just. That's how we work. We just kind of spitball and riff on things, and then the situation becomes more bizarre, and then eventually somehow it becomes a movie that we make.
Right,
so that's where it was originally a short film, is where I was going to say. And we had pitched it around to a couple of people, and everybody had told us, this is a really fun idea. You should make it a feature. Don't waste your time making a short film where you can't, get it out to the masses or see any return on it, because you guys are putting a lot of effort into this, and it's really, really funny. So eventually we developed it into a feature, and that's why it has that 3-act structure, because only the first part was the first 20 minutes or whatever was what we had written at the time. And then we decided to kind of make this parallel anthology kind of movie that all comes together at the end. And then slowly but surely we added in the character of Finbar here. So played by Jason, which is a fun little character for anybody who hasn't seen the movie yet. It just kind of grew from there. And it was a lot of fun to make. We have a great cast with Malcolm McDowell, Gilbert Gottfried, Tyler Main, Leslie Easterbrook, Ron Jeremy, Bruce Davison, Academy Award nominated actor, and he was in the X-Men movies, Willard. Ron Jeremy makes a cameo appearance. And we have 2 brothers in the movie of major stars, and they're great actors in their own right. Michael Buscemi, Steve Buscemi's brother, and Jim Hanks, who's a great friend now, and that's Tom Hanks's brother. And they're both really, really, really good actors, and were so helpful in the making of this film.
But the main thing for the movie is we wanted to make a movie that, we grew up loving. Me and Mike used to watch the movies where monsters were humanized, or TV shows like The Munsters, and they brought them into this. They made them do human things, but they're monsters, but they act so normal. Halloween Town, or The Addams Family. We were always so fascinated by that, type of structure of storytelling. So we really wanted to make a movie that was like that, but for adults that had adult humor, but so the adults can reminisce on their childhood. So that's the reason why we made it into that, this big monster thing, them humanizing Frankenstein, talking about how he's Jewish. His name's Frankenstein. It's not Frankenstein. Frankenstein's the guy who created me. I'm just a monster. So we wanted to create those type of scenarios. And I think that was the main goal of the movie. And it was just a fun movie to make. And as much as funny as it was watching, it was definitely fun to make.
Oh, yeah. And it's just the same, like, there's so many pop culture references in it. And, we wanted to include that because as kids, we love fairy tales and monster movies and stuff. And we were just like, there's no movie like that. Shrek, it might be like the closest, or like a Roger Rabbit, but they have their limits, right? They don't kind of really make it adultified. And we said, screw it. Let's make something that is the niche thing and has this kind of culty kind of feel to it. And let's see what happens. And thankfully, there was a lot of really positive responses to it. And, you're not going to please everybody, but the people who understood it and got it loved it. You know what I mean? That's what we were making. Those are the people we were making it for.
Speaking of Finbar, I have to ask, what is your favorite Finbar line? Mine has to be, "Did you kick me, bitch?"
Yeah, everyone loves that line. And that line wasn't even written in the script. It was actually thought of on the day of. I remember we were laughing. So whenever Finbar was on, like whenever I was doing Finbar, we would just laugh nonstop because when I act, I like to improv a lot of things that are not on script. So just like these weird things would start coming out of my mouth. But
the funny thing is, the whole cast and crew, when Jason's playing Finbar, everyone talks as Finbar.
Right.
So
exactly.
It's not even like Jason. It's like I'm sitting there going, Jay, why don't you go over there and go kick that? It's like everybody puts on that Finbar voice.
Right.
And Jason, you never know what the hell's going to come out of his mouth. So each take is always different, which is a continuity nightmare when you're editing.
Yeah.
But that kick me bitch thing was a riot on set, and I don't think Nicole, who plays Alyssa, knew it was coming. And Eileen Dietz was a great trooper and a lot of fun to work with on that scene. And she was really holding her own because it's tough when you're working with someone like Jay who just kind of riffs, off the cusp. And,
Right.
I know my favorite Finbar scene, it might not be one of his lines, is the makeout scene. I always think that's funny because it's so unexpected. This guy's talking about he hates monsters the whole movie, and then he just starts locking lips with an alien. So that always makes me laugh to this day.
Yeah, I think my favorite, I really enjoyed the kitchen table scene. I thought that was we had a lot of laughs. But when we were doing the Peach's penis thing, when we were walking down the woods with James and the giant penis and gave it a standing masturbation, that was really funny because that was like a conversation. That was
a real conversation.
It was a real conversation that we had. I was like, you ever seen it? I said, we were talking about, I remember me and Steve, we needed another scene of Finbar because we felt like the movie was lacking something. So me and Steve are in the car and we're thinking, like, it's just a normal conversation. Like, oh, you ever hear these porno names like E.T. the Extra Testicle or this and that? And I said, what about James and the Giant Penis? And then I started, obviously, the Finbar voice came out and we started riffing back and forth. And that's exactly how the scenario played out in real life is how we wrote it in the movie, which is actually a pretty fun fact. So.
Yeah, that was fun. There's so many little ones, too, that
That
get
is a
me
fun
now
fact.
that, like, you don't even realize that's, they're like, there's some of the big ones. Sorry, I don't know if I got froze.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just saying, like I like when he's walking over to the little gun and says, I got blue balls. Like, it's like one of those throwaway lines.
Well, you guys have roles in the film. Michael, you're Timothy, and Jason, you obviously play Finbar, but I think I also spotted you as like the little Humpty Dumpty baby, like in the beginning of the film on the top of the fence. I just want to know, like, how does it feel to like play such like fun, exaggerated roles? Like, you guys had to have a blast. That shows up on screen,
Well, those are my favorite roles to play is, a bunch of characters. I'm a character actor. I enjoy making people laugh. So as many characters as I can play, I don't mind getting in makeup for 5 or 7 hours or whatever. And in Abnormal Attraction, I played about almost every character in that movie sometimes because there
at one point he doubled for a lot of people.
I double for a lot of people, but I mean it's just fun, like the Humpty Dumpty guy. Not a lot of people notice that, which I'm pretty impressed that you actually got that because no one has ever said that it was me yet, but you're the first one, so that's good.
Yeah, we always try to put ourselves in the film somewhere. It's for me, it's a little tougher to be in it too much because obviously directing and stuff, and that takes a lot of time and focus to do. But we always try to find somewhere to put us, like Steve Delasala, who's one of our producing partners. He's the DP. He played the vampire that sucks dick. And he wrote that scene for himself. So, but we just have fun, man. And as funny and as silly as that movie is, there's a lot of good morality behind it, and about accepting ourselves and about accepting others. And, there's a lot of kind of undertones on what was and what is going on in society today. And, it's just about, listen, just kind of, you don't have to agree with someone, but you should respect what their opinions are. And you should respect that they have their own opinions and kind of have an open debate about things and just, just be cool about it, and that's kind of what we were trying to showcase with that film and kind of get across and just show that, we as many differences as we all have, there's a lot of similarities between all of us.
Okay. But my next question is, you guys had mentioned before, Michael, you had just mentioned about working with, Leslie Easterbrook and Bruce Davison, and now you're telling us, that you have like, Jeffrey Combs and stuff in your new movie. Like, how does that feel for you guys to be like working on these movies, but like working with the people that you like, the icons, the people that has to be a great feeling working with people like that. I mean, they're not just nobodies, you know what I mean? You guys are very fortunate, like, to be working with people like that. I know it feels great.
Yeah, it's fun. It's surreal when you first kind of get them in the room and you start hearing the lines come to life from them. But then, you just kind of, you get grounded and you realize we're all there to do a job and we're there to create. And what's great about everyone I've worked with is none of them had an ego. They've all looked at me like an equal and just kind of creating and doing this thing together and going on this journey. What's really fun is yeah, I did grow up, watching these guys and these girls and these women on screen. And, it is cool that I'm able to, and very fortunate that I'm able to kind of work with them. And it just goes to show that hard work pays off. And if you keep going after your dreams and stuff, you can accomplish them. Some of the greatest things I heard from Malcolm McDowell is after I worked with him, he says, you're a director who knows what he wants. And I like that. And that gave me a lot of confidence as a young director at the time to keep going and just to keep believing in what I'm doing and my vision and don't steer off of that. And if you can't be afraid to tell someone, try it this way, or I think you could do it this way. And these guys and women are professionals and they really bring their A game and working with them, everyone really has been a pleasure so far.
All right. So last question that I have for you guys is Terrfier 2, it's happening. What can you tell us about it? I know that Stephen De La Sala and Jason, you guys reprised your roles as the police officers as far as IMDb goes. Is there anything else that you guys can tell us? Craig Lloydgren told us that Damien Leone outdoes the Saw scene about 3 or 4 times in Terrfier 2, but he wouldn't go into detail, and that's fine. But is there anything you guys feel that you could share with us?
I'll just tell you that, it's good. The kills are going to be bigger. The story's bigger. You're going to care for the characters a lot. It's way bigger than the first one. So many more locations, so much more production value. It's gonna really compete with the first Terrfier, and I think the fans are gonna. Damien's been showing me clips. It's edited. He's got the movie together, and it's gonna be a crazy ride for all the fans. I'll tell you that right now. That I know.
Yeah, it's always tough, and I make this joke a lot, but it's always tough to say. But this one is because I was in the first one and sadly got to die. But being a part of this one as a producer and as an assistant director, Damien and the entire cast and crew outdone themselves. This movie will be better than Terrfier 1, will be bigger than Terrfier 1. Anyone who liked Terrfier 1 will like this film, and anyone who didn't like Terrfier 1, I'm pretty confident will like this film, actually, because it's got a lot of character depth. It's got a great story, which the first one, it's no secret, didn't have much of a storyline other than it felt like a last 15 minutes of a slasher film dragged out over an hour and a half. And Damien is on record saying that himself. So this one really dives deep into, having a great story that sets up his ultimate trilogy that he wants to do. And we'll see what goes on beyond that. But let me tell you, it is so cool. And the kills did outdo the ones in the original Terrfier. No one is going to be disappointed. It definitely delivers the goods for sure. There's like one kill scene in particular that's like over 6 minutes. It's just huge. And it's really, really great. And it's big. And that's thanks to a lot of the people who contributed on Indiegogo that helped us be able to accomplish that. It's a tribute to Damien, just not holding back and shooting everything that he wanted to, that he had in his script. And all of us just executing it for him and believing in the project. You guys are really going to enjoy the character of Sienna. I think she could be the modern day Jamie Lee Curtis, if not bigger. I think because the actress Lauren, who played the character, is unbelievable, and she brings so much passion and talent and raw emotion to the screen. And I think you guys are really, really going to enjoy it. I can't wait to see it all come together because we really poured our heart and soul into this film.
Now, the kills in the first one, double it, and that's what the kills for the second one. There's going to be a hell of a lot. It might even be quadrupled. That we filmed so many kill scenes, it's insane. And the amount of blood that we used on this one alone surpassed gallons, vats of blood. So it's definitely going to be gory. It's definitely going to be cringy. It's definitely going to be gritty, and you guys will enjoy it.
I know we're both, Drew and I are both really excited to see the second one, and you guys have just have made us even more interested in it. Yeah. And where can people find you on social media?
Yeah, so you can find me. I mean, we're on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. We have a website. You can follow us on fuzzandthelens.com. We also have a Patreon page where we release private content, and we're going to be releasing some interesting stuff probably this week that obviously I can't talk about publicly, but Patreon members will exclusively get those things first. And then, you could find me just Michael Leavy on any of those things, or at Levis Island on Instagram. But mainly Fuzz and the Lens, and you'll find us.
And also on Patreon, if you sign up, we actually shot a horror short over the summer at a real haunted mansion that we're releasing only to the Patreon at first before it goes to the film festival. So we're going to release the short film. So if you're a part of that, but there's going to be more more announcements in the coming months. But that's where you can get most of our stuff before it comes out, our short films and things like that.
Well, we'd like to thank Jason and Michael Leavy again for joining us today for our interview, and we hope to talk to you guys soon, hopefully after Terrfier 2 comes out and stream.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome. Thank you guys for having us, and excited to come back.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks to all you listeners out there, you horror hounds and smokers. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you to Jason and Michael Leavy for joining us today. I'm glad Jason had as much fun playing Finbar as we had watching him. I was disappointed they did not get Booker T to do the Spinneroonie on set. Now, Drew, if we ever get Booker T on here, make sure that we get him to do the Spinneroonie.
I'm going to definitely let you introduce him if we ever get Booker T on here.
Oh, he will get one of the best intros ever. But anyway, follow us on Facebook and Instagram at HighOnHorror420 and Twitter at High_horror. And next week, we will have Spookies and Street Trash producer Frank Farrell joining us. Thank you, everybody. Please like and subscribe. Catch yous later.
Bye.